If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
In the market for new or used guns, look no further than Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun. Whether you want to buy, sell, or trade, we got you covered. While you're here, check out our large selection of jewelry. We offer gold, silver, diamond, and beautiful estate jewelry. Looking for electronics? We have almost anything you can think of. We always carry new and used guns, so come here first and shop with a local business you can trust. Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun, serving you for over 25 years. 443-1668, 2552 Sunset Avenue, Rocky Mount.
Okay, welcome to the K-Files, everybody, on this rainy day.
Yes, the rain has helped me slip back my hair.
Yes, this really helped me. But anyway, we have great news.
You ready to get to the news?
Yeah, I'm ready to get to the meat.
While I was out, which is to me the best part of this because that means that things happen without me, which is great.
Well, things continue to evolve.
Our partner Fighting Crime received information just like it's designed to be. She took that information to the Rocky Mount Police Department.
From this phone number that's on the TV right now.
She took that information from to Rocky Mount Police Department. Within a few hours of receiving that information, an arrest has been made in a homicide here in the city.
Correct.
The board voted on how to pay out for that, just like it's designed to do. And the money is, you told me just now, the money is in hand.
Yes,
to the
I gave
tipster.
the money to the proper authorities.
Completely anonymous.
They have passed it on to the tipster.
Right, completely anonymous. No one knows who that person is.
I have no idea who that
person has the cash in hand, and someone is in jail for murder. And we have worked with Captain Staten at the police department to develop a press release.
Yes.
And that information is, it has to go through the process, but as soon as it gets through the process, that information will be released to everybody. So we're going to wait. I'm not going to give away all the details here.
Yeah, we'll wait for the press release. That's, because the police department does have to look over it and make sure all the details are correct.
So the system works.
Yes, it does work. We're so happy that Team Cold Case is being able to pay out their first for their first case. And we haven't really been here that long.
Since July, or June? June. Since June.
We're paying one out now, and this kind of sets. I don't know that the person, you never know that they might say, "Look, man, if if you know anything, you
right.
gotta go get
well,
some
I mean,
money.
that's how, that's
I got some money, cash.
It primes the pump.
Yeah, it does.
You know, it certainly does. And it shows that, that things work. The idea that people will provide information for money. I mean, of course, Crime Stop's been doing that for years.
Yes.
But I anticipate more. Mm-hmm. And of course, like I said, I was not here. That was always the Team Cold case. I envisioned it as a operation that could run without me, without you, without you know.
Without,
I mean, hopefully it carries on well into the future.
We were just the facilitators to get it started.
Absolutely. And so again, we did receive information from a tipster. That information was passed on to police, and I'm told within couple hours,
right,
an arrest was made in a case in Rocky Mount, and the police department will be releasing more of the information very shortly.
Remember, we have 2 phases of this now. We have Hot and Now, which we will be talking to you about cases that are current, because I know you want to know about current cases and where they stand and what's going on. And then we have the cold cases.
Right.
So, you know, we decided to throw the Hot and Now in after I think a good case came up and we started talking about it, and we said, hey, we need to be doing this.
Well, I mean, the idea of a cold case is kind of arbitrary. You know, I was talking with a journal about this last week. A cold case can be cold after a day. Really,
I mean, isn't it really cold after a day?
When the leads are exhausted.
Yes.
You know, that's when it starts.
I would
that's
say.
when it starts getting cold.
It doesn't have to be 20 years. So.
All right. So, jumping right in. Last week we talked about Linda Lawrence.
We did.
Now apparently there is no extra E in Lawrence. You asked me about that. It's a very strange spelling. But the family members straightened me out on that after the show last week. That name appeared very early on in her investigation.
Oh, wow.
The extra E part of it, and it's just stuck through NCIC.
It was incorrect at the beginning.
Incorrect at the beginning, and it's stuck to a lot of paperwork. So I tried to get to the bottom of it before I talked about it last week, and apparently I got to the wrong bottom of it. So the family has told me, and even though, I mean, like I said, that spelling appears everywhere, they say it's not correct, and I guess the family would know better than anybody.
Oh yeah, I think so.
So again, now we're back to Lawrence, back to the common spelling of the name Lawrence, right?
And this is the girl, if you remember, that
45-year-old woman
supposedly went to the swimming pool and was never seen again.
Right, 45-year-old woman. I was gonna talk about some of the details of that, but in the process, Linda's daughter, who I've spoken to before, I first started writing about this case in 2017 for the Telegram, and Linda's daughter, she's been dealing with this for all this time, and it's really difficult for her to.
Difficult.
Right, and so she sent me a lot of we talked about last week about how Linda had an addiction problem, but she was otherwise a good mother.
Right.
And her daughter loved her a lot, but then also there was a lot of pain there too, because, Linda just up and disappeared, and then there was all these questions about, did she run off? I mean, anytime that an adult goes missing, there's all these questions and everything. So she sent me a statement. It's a really, really long statement. I'm only going to read portions of it here on the air.
Okay.
But I'm going to have the entire statement. I'm going to post it later on today on my Facebook page, the K-Files Facebook page, so people can go and read it in its entirety.
Right.
It's worth reading. It's kind of stream of consciousness a little bit. Linda's daughter talks about a lot of different things. But I think I wanted to, on these cases, we spend a lot of time on them, on the ones like we have with Mr. Cobb and with Orlando Flowers.
Yes.
So I thought it was worthwhile to just take a moment today, and rather than talk about the particulars of the case, I want to read some of these statements from her daughter, because they had a really good relationship,
right.
and the mother, Linda, she tried really hard, and I imagine it's a situation, because I've seen this in my own family, where parents who suffer from addiction, or parents who are kind of conscious that they're not the best parent.
Right.
They try really hard to make up for that.
Right.
So I mean, it's just a sad situation, and I think well, I mean, I'll get into the letter, but I mean, it's the daughter says that she was 3 years shy of the age I am today, right? So the daughter's about 42, and her mother disappeared at age 45, and of course there's Linda there. So I'm just going to start reading some of these things. We've got some photos of her and the daughter, some things they were doing and everything. I want people to see that Linda Lawrence was a mother who loved her daughter and did the best that she could, the best she could for her, and then she just disappears, right? So her daughter says, "My mother vanished in 1996 at the young age of 45. She was 3 years shy of the age I am today. I knew my mother was struggling with addiction. It was no secret. She did her very best to protect me from the ugly of all of that. It was a time where people had very little awareness of addiction. No one spoke of those things as they do today. My mother came from a loving Christian home, and my grandmother did the very best to protect my mother as much as possible, and also to protect me. My mother was an amazing person. She was not only beautiful on the outside, but on the inside too. She had a smile that would light up the room, and she never met a stranger. She was very accepting of all people. Someone took my mother from me. They did not think that I am an only child. My mother missed every important part of my adult life. They did not take into consideration that I would spend 23 years feeling like I was abandoned or forgotten by the only constant person in my life. I often wonder if the person who harmed my mother has a family of their own now. If that person made a terrible decision and may have turned their life around today. I'm a forgiving person. I forgive to a fault. I understand things happen. I understand people make terrible choices. I am a human and imperfect like everyone else. What I cannot understand is why someone would not give me the peace I deserve. Why someone would not allow me to lay my mother to rest as she deserves. This is a small town. People talk. Someone knows. And my gut has always told me that they still live in this small town. I am pleading for myself and for my 98-year-old grandmother. If anyone knows anything, please come forward."
Wow.
So
that is really powerful.
Right. Forgive my my accent and my second grade reading ability. But
no, that was really
I set in 2000. I started researching this case in 2016, and it took me a little while to find the daughter, because she is disappeared into her own life. She's
Sure.
And I said in her
is she married now?
Yes, married to a good guy. I said in their beautiful Rocky Mount home 3.5 years ago. You can tell from her mother. I mean, she's a beautiful woman. Her husband's a great looking guy. They have a great marriage.
Wow.
But always haunting her, hanging over her head.
She can't get closure.
Right.
She can't.
Where's your mother at? And so, we are really going to get into the meat of this case. If someone is a hitchhiker,
right,
or someone has left their home and went out into the world and say they're in another place and they become a missing person. Sometimes, like we dealt with the, we're slowly getting into the Seven Bridges Road situation where some of those women weren't even reported missing at all. They just found a body and then figured out. But Linda, even though her drug addiction, she was still very rooted in the community. She had a daughter. Her family is very affluent, lives in Halifax County, very well respected up there. So she just goes missing one day, right? Her body is here somewhere, right? Now, she's given the circumstances of the case and all that stuff. She's more than likely dead the day that she goes missing. Right.
Oh yeah.
So she's here, and I think what her daughter said is very true. That the people who did it are small time crooks and drug dealers. Right. We're not talking about criminal masterminds here. They're here. They got nowhere else. They're still here in Rocky Mount. So she has been gone since 1996. Right. But her. And I hate air quotes, but her friends that knew what happened to her and were probably a part of what happened to her, they're still here. We'll discuss later.
Somebody knows.
We'll discuss later. One of them still has the same job that they had in 1996 that we've talked about off the air.
That's we'll get to that. That's the most amazing thing to me, anyway.
So Linda disappears. The family's come to accept this. She died a long time ago, just like the Travis Lynch case. He'd been dead a long time.
Right.
So she's here somewhere in Rocky Mount, or near about, and the people who did it are still here. That's what the daughter meant by small town. Rocky Mount's obviously not a small town, but it still has a small town atmosphere. It still has a small town feeling, and so when we begin to get into the particulars of this case, and it's some of the details are pretty shocking. All those characters are still here, all these years later. In 1996, I'd been married less than a year. I had just gotten out of the Navy. I was 25 years. It's a long time ago.
So yeah,
it's a lifetime ago. I've got my oldest son lives in Chicago. My next oldest daughter lives in Japan. They've got lives. 25 years of not knowing where your mom is. Not knowing, and then those people have been living with that dark secret all these years.
Well, I certainly hope they'll call 406-6736, our hotline. It is totally anonymous.
And it works.
And it
puts money puts money in your pocket. It works. And
absolutely.
Linda Lawrence deserves a whole lot better.
Absolutely.
Than rotting away in some shallow grave or hiding spot today.
How long, and this sounds morbid, I hate to even bring this up, but people wonder about this, I'm sure. How long does it take the body? I know we find skeletons and things like that. How long before it's not even a skeleton anymore? How long before it's just gone?
Some parts of the body are going to be there a long time, because we find skeletons that are
that's
200 years old. Me. Right. They sometimes because I do a lot of research and work on unidentified bodies as well.
Right.
A lot of times a medical examiner will find a skull.
Right.
And they won't know whether it's
years and
right.
Years
at some point, at some point they can't tell whether it was there a couple years or whether it was been there since the Wild West days. At some point you can't tell.
It's just amazing that it stays that
But
long.
depending on the
decomposing.
Right, depending on the environment. If it's hot. It just depends on if it's cold. Right. Yeah, depending on the environment, a body can decompose down to a skeleton pretty quickly. I mean, it really can. So the thing about Linda's case, again, is that everything about this is here in Rocky Mount.
Right.
Where she supposedly disappeared from has not changed. It's frozen in time. I went to that swimming pool several times while I was researching this story. It's the same it was 25 years ago.
Is it still open?
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, I haven't been there in a couple of years, to be honest with you. But when I was there 2 years ago, and I'm gonna return. But when I was there a few years ago, it was just. I mean, it was like stepping into a time machine and going back to 1996.
That's unreal.
It was still there. Okay, so the people involved are still here. Both friends and suspects. The place where the suspects were known to hang out at, an apartment building, the Bojangles up on 64, that area. What is that area? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Right over there, still there. You know, maybe even live in the same apartment. I mean, I haven't run that down completely, but I mean, all of that's still there. So everything about this case is right here in Rocky Mount. But
so
yet,
you
here we are.
Like the body is here.
Yeah, Linda's here somewhere, and all that Linda's daughter is really asking for is the body. You know, obviously the state requires justice. You know, and I think that the moral arc will lean that way eventually. But right now, what Linda's daughter really wants is to be able to have a funeral.
You know, I've heard of these cases, and I agree with you totally about what happened to her, but you hear of these cases where people totally leave town, change their identity, go somewhere, God knows where, Texas, New Mexico, somewhere.
Absolutely.
Just
and when we talked about
a whole different life.
And I've been involved in some of those where you do a lot of investigation and the police do a lot of work, and it turns out that the person just went to Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it happens, but not in this case.
In this case, you feel.
Well, I mean, she was.
Your gut feels like
the folks that she was running with, and everything. Yeah. It was. It looks like a situation where she owed some money.
Yeah.
Or you know, I mean, there was some.
So much.
Yeah, and you know, of course, I mean that. Having said all that, I mean, there's always the anomaly where she's in Las Vegas, you know. But I mean, I doubt it. You know, I mean, it just doesn't work like that long term.
Really add up to that. It really doesn't. So.
And plus, well, I mean, we're in an age too where that's just not as possible as it used to be. I mean,
right.
Social Security card, you know. I mean, you don't get a job anymore without a Social Security number and all.
And,
you know,
and with social media now, pictures and things, you just don't. So anyway,
we're gonna continue with Linda next week.
She's here somewhere, and that somebody in this area knows something. So if you want to collect some money anonymously, you might want to call that number. And please give this family closure.
Absolutely. I can't speak for the entire board, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that in this situation we would pay out just for the body.
Yes.
I mean, give this family some. You know, I mean, our rules are upon arrest.
Yes.
But in a situation like this, I mean, folks, this family needs. I mean, the grandma's 98 years old. I talked to her a couple of years ago. She's falling apart. I mean, you know, she needs her daughter. She needs her daughter.
Sure she does.
Linda needs her mother. Please help these folks bury their mom, her mom.
That's right. Okay, we'll be back with Lieutenant Jeff Scheroth right after this.
If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
In the market for new or used guns, look no further than Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun. Whether you want to buy, sell, or trade, we got you covered. While you're here, check out our large selection of jewelry. We offer gold, silver, diamond, and beautiful estate jewelry. Looking for electronics? We have almost anything you can think of. We always carry new and used guns, so come here first and shop with a local business you can trust. Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun, serving you for over 25 years. 443-1668, 2552 Sunset Avenue, Rocky Mount.
And welcome back. We have with us Lieutenant Jeff Scheroth from the Nash County Sheriff's Department. Glad to have you here.
Thank you, ma'am. Glad to be here. Sorry I couldn't make it last time.
Well, we understand that duty called.
You were a little busy last time.
Yes, we were. We definitely were busy.
I think you made 2 arrests.
We did a couple days later. We were able to solve the homicide up in Whitaker's first, and then a couple days after that, we were able to solve the one on Old Carriage Road.
Old Carriage Road, Very good. Well, now you just went through some training. Tell us about that.
I did. If you remember last time when Chief Medina was here, he was talking about the Detention Officer Certification School.
Yes.
So Tuesday we took our state exam. Everybody in the whole class passed.
Oh, good.
It was myself, Major Eddie Moore from the command staff, and then we had 3 detention officers from Nash County that were in the class as well.
Now, Sheriff Stone is the only one in the state. Aren't y'all the only one in the state doing this?
That I'm aware of, yes, ma'am.
That's what I was told.
And doing this means sending everybody through the class. Is that what we're saying?
The sheriff is he's wanting to implement that the command staff, and once the command staff gets available, then he's going to start sending some deputies to be dual certified, where you're both certified on the criminal side and the detention side.
If there's one thing I know about Sheriff Stone, he wants y'all to be trained, trained.
He loves training.
And that is important.
That's that highway patrol. That's that old state trooper.
Okay, well, we're here to talk about, Linda, you're going to talk with him about a specific case today.
Sure. Nash County's only real unsolved homicide, right? I mean,
yes, sir.
Travis Lynch is a missing person.
Yes, sir.
Technically. Right. So I remember the first time that I sat down with you to talk about Travis Lynch. It was you and Major Brake and the other Jeff
Lucas.
Right. And y'all were like right in the middle of a stabbing homicide.
I think, didn't we leave you that?
Yeah, you left me to go to do that, and you made that arrest that day. So I mean, Nash County don't, you don't carry very long or don't like having unsolved murders on your hands.
We don't. That's a thing that Sheriff Stone's inherited from the other former sheriffs. When Sheriff Jimmy Grimes came in, if we had something major happen, he didn't like the concept of sending just a couple people. He sent everybody.
Right.
And when I say everybody, I mean people from the patrol, people from investigations, people from the narcotic division, people from the civil division. I mean, we sent everybody. It was like we threw everything we could at what was happening. And then Sheriff Jenkins came in, kept the same concept, and now Sheriff Stone keeps the same concept.
All hands
on deck.
It must work, because I mean you've got a pretty good clearance rate when it comes to homicide.
Well, we try.
So Randy Colgrove, am I pronouncing that right?
Colgrove.
Tell us about him and why that case is so hard or unique.
Well, it's I guess it's hard and unique because of the fact that we don't have any witnesses at this point. We responded to them finding Randy Colgrove on October the 21st, 2017. During our investigation, we learned that Randy lived up a long, extended dirt path, and there was houses on both sides. There's the picture, and that's just getting to his house. Outside of that scene right there is probably another 150 yards before you can get to the road.
Was that Bachelor Road?
It is. No, it's on Highway 58 South.
58 South.
Right past the trash dumpster, like you're going to Sandy Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Before you get to Vibrette Road is where it was at. But during our investigation, we learned that some neighbors on the path actually heard some shots being fired the night before. They text each other, checking on each other, make sure that each other were okay, and they didn't see anything, didn't see any people or any vehicles, and they just assumed that it was a hog farm operation on the other side of the woods. And then, of course, the next morning, someone went to check on Randy, and that's when they found him laying in the path.
Wow, in the path.
Mm-hmm. So he had made it, he had stumbled around, I guess, from his house down to the path?
What we believe is that Randy was inside his house and a home invasion occurred. There was a struggle inside the house. You can see the front door in that scene right there. There was a struggle inside the house, and somehow we believe that Randy got away. In the first picture she showed, you see that light pole that was on the left-hand side of the picture. There was a struggle there. We could tell there was a struggle there from the sand, from the sand and stuff.
Right there?
Right. Well, about where that light pole is.
About where the light pole is.
So Randy was able to get away.
And that's his house in the background?
That's his house in the
So
very
he got from the house to there, and then
another struggle occurred.
Okay.
And then Randy got away the second time and made it another 150 yards from that location to his final resting place where he was shot twice.
Wow.
The medical examiner, and we agree with it, and it made sense to us once the medical examiner told us, is that we believe that the first shot occurred while Randy was actually running away.
And is that the shot to the neck, or
The shot to the back.
To the back. So then someone came up and shot him execution style in the neck?
Close range. I'm not going to say execution, but I'm going to say close range.
Okay, I say execution.
Wow.
If you can't say this, I mean, I completely understand, but like, is this a situation, I mean, is it, and this might even be a stupid question. Sometimes people ask stupid questions. I know whenever I used to go to press conferences, TV people were always asking about motive, because that was played well on TV, but police don't know, you know, they're not going to talk about motive in a case. But what I'm asking is it any indication at all this was anybody that was familiar or knew Randy at all? Is this a stranger situation, or?
I think there may have been a stranger situation to Randy. Randy had a roommate, and we can't determine at this point if it may be connected to Randy's roommate or what the actual ulterior motive behind all this was.
Fair enough. That's
what
more
kind
than
of
I knew.
person was he? A quiet? What did the neighbors say? Was he kind of a quiet person?
Randy, he was. You know, I actually knew Randy. Randy was a local barber.
Okay. He was a barber. That's right.
He
I
cut hair.
read that.
He actually. I'm not going to say it's the first time I met Randy, but I met Randy when he was actually working for the guy that cuts my hair. The guy that owns Walnut Barbershop over there by the old Armory.
Oh, yeah.
Randy worked for him for a little while, and that's when I started knowing Randy. And Randy left there, and then I think it was a couple years later, he ended up in a little small barbershop in the town of Nashville and was cutting hair around there. But, you know, nothing unusual about Randy. He was very quiet, kept to himself, and, you know, that's what everybody says about him when we interviewed him.
Wasn't married.
I think he was married at one time, but not married at the time this happened.
Okay.
All right, folks, Sandra, read that number off. I can't see it.
Okay. 406-6736. Somebody knows something about this. Somebody does. Please help the Nash County Sheriff's Department. They are working tirelessly on this case, and they need your help.
Calls are anonymous. You get the cash money without anybody knowing who you are. The information, the identity of the callers are not shared with law enforcement.
Nope.
So all they want is that information to get started in the right direction.
We are about one tip away from making an arrest in this case.
Oh,
awesome.
Wow.
So
there you go, folks. Make that.
We need that one last thing to get us over the hump.
Wow.
So if anybody that can hear us has got that information, please call us, call the sheriff's office, ask for me. Just if you know something, please call us and get us over that hump.
Absolutely. The sheriff's office number, if you need to call there, is 459-4121. I hope I did that right.
You did. That's exactly right.
459-4121. You can ask for Lieutenant Jeff Scheroth. But please, they are in need of help with this case. They're
Where'd you
very
see that number?
close.
Where'd you get that number from? You remember?
Memory.
It's bad
You
when
can't
know the
remember people's
sheriff's
names. You don't
department's
remember
number.
anything. How do you remember?
Well, it's pretty bad when you know the sheriff's department's number. Let me tell you right now.
As many crazy old boyfriends as you used to name, you probably called it a lot.
He's a nut. Anyway, yeah, they do need your help, and somebody does know. So we do pay out money. We talked about early this morning when Linda first came on. We do pay out. We just paid out a tipster. We just did, didn't we, Jeff?
We did.
So we do pay, and fast. We do pay fast, and it's not upon conviction. So,
right. Well, thank God, because trials can stretch out for years.
Exactly.
especially now with COVID, I think the calendars are going way up.
I didn't think about it till she just said it, but I mean, for folks to know who don't know, I mean, you are on the Team Cold Case board.
I am.
You were appointed by the sheriff to serve on it,
Yes.
and you're very active in it. And we have meetings once a month. We're doing them by Zoom or whatever it is.
Phone calls.
And we do
Man,
appreciate you being
I never thought I would do all that. I've done more of those meetings in the last 6 months than I could for
We know
everything.
you're not meeting material.
Right,
We know
exactly. So, I mean, I'm struggling to ask them. Wow, that's bad.
Probably have a flood alert.
Yeah, it is. I'm struggling to ask the right question here because I don't want to put you on the spot.
If I can't answer it, I won't.
He'll tell you.
Well, I mean,
Don't worry.
this thing that we're all trying to do. I mean, obviously, it's not new. I mean, it's been done elsewhere, and there's Crime Stoppers programs elsewhere that are very robust, and accomplish this kind of thing. But I mean, is this something? There's some breaking news going on. Is this?
Pardon me, y'all.
Do you see this as working? I guess that's the question. I want to hear it from like a law enforcement point of view, because sometimes people see it looks like folks like me get in y'all's way, that kind of thing. I mean, is this? What are you tearing on a conversation over there, Sandra? What are you doing?
She can't hit the right button.
She can remember the sheriff's office number, but she can't turn her phone off.
There is an alert coming on.
All right, so from a law enforcement perspective, we haven't really asked anybody that yet. I mean, just kind of tell us what you think about what we're trying to do.
I absolutely love the concept that is behind Team Cold Case. When you talk about fighting crime, I love Kat. She's absolutely wonderful. I wish I could tell you how many cases she's actually solved for the sheriff's office.
Hundreds.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. And when you talk about those things, those organizations focus on the whole picture. I mean, it's break-ins, robberies, and things of that nature. The thing I like about Team Cold Case is it thrives just on homicides and missing persons.
Sure.
Where those other concepts are so broad that it expands the thought process, I guess is a good word, of the people. When you narrow it down, as Team Cold Case has, it's all the attention is on missing persons and cold case homicides. And I knew, and you and I had this conversation, it was just a matter of time before someone called and gave a tip and an arrest was made, which is the case that you talked about this morning with Rocky Mountain PD. But now that people are going to see it's real, people are going to start talking about, hey, they do pay. It's not just a bluff. They pay before the court case even comes. And like you said, a court case could go a year and a half, 2 years. I mean, take Lee and Kill, for instance. I mean,
that's the one I was thinking about.
We already a year and a half, and there's no court date set in sight that I'm aware of. But the concept behind it is one that I like. I was extremely honored when the sheriff asked me to be on the board. That's the part of my job I actually love is homicide and cold cases, because somebody does know something. It's just a matter of them trusting and depending on the sheriff's office or the police department to give them that information and do as run with it, try to investigate it and find out if the tip's valid or not, and try to make the best of it as you can.
Right.
Fantastic.
Well,
absolutely.
We're glad to be able to do this. We really appreciate the sponsors, the businesses that stepped up. We have, I was going to say we have $15,000 in the kitty, but I can't tell you how much less than that we have.
We spent some of it.
But we spent some of it.
Well, and I'm sure that, you know, and I'm sure that once the team cold case gets the all the tax stuff complete and people can start donating, that number's going to go up.
I think so.
Yeah.
I absolutely think so. Well, Jeff, thank you for being on this
Thanks for
morning,
having me.
Lieutenant Scheroth. I know him as Jeff. I've been knowing Jeff. Jeff was a ball player way back in the day. So, I mean, I've been knowing Jeff from the ballpark days. So, anyway, I know. But anyway, Lieutenant Scheroth, we appreciate it.
Wait, how long, you know?
At least
God.
30 years.
I reckon 30 years.
30 years. Because I was in my 20s when I was playing with her husband. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
Playing ball.
It is the smallest. You know what Linda Lawrence's daughter said earlier. I mean, Rocky Mount's really a small town.
It is a small town. It's a small world. It's
you know, because Randy Colgrove, you knew him before.
I knew him.
I mean, it's amazing. It's, you know, like Lieutenant Seaman was on here last month or whenever it was, and he was talking about how he knew Sammy.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a small town.
It's just all interconnected.
Exactly.
So, anyway, well, thank you for being on this morning. Hope to have you back again.
Yes, ma'am.
I hope when you come back, we can celebrate us solving this case.
I hope you're right.
That would be nice.
It would be.
We'll be right back.
If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
In the market for new or used guns, look no further than Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun. Whether you want to buy, sell, or trade, we got you covered. While you're here, check out our large selection of jewelry. We offer gold, silver, diamond, and beautiful estate jewelry. Looking for electronics? We have almost anything you can think of. We always carry new and used guns, so come here first and shop with a local business you can trust. Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun, serving you for over 25 years. 443-1668, 2552 Sunset Avenue, Rocky Mount.
You can't just say something like that and then we go to
The end.
Oh my goodness, Sandra.
I love it.
Wow. Okay.
Makes you wonder, don't it?
I remember when I was like I was like 5 years old or whatever, my grandma was watching the news. Except for it wasn't the news, it was Saturday Night Live, and she didn't know it. And Chevy Chase just hauled off and smacked I don't remember who it was. And my grandma, I think she died thinking that was the real news. So we might have a repeat of that. You do that again. All right. Yesterday was Veterans Day.
Yes, it was.
It's a big day to my family.
Oh, that's right. Thank you for your service.
Well, it's a little late, but that's all right.
Yes, well, you weren't on TV yesterday.
I served in the Navy for 4 years. I got to see half the world. Had the best time ever.
Right.
Okay, so my father's retired from the Air Force, 30 years. My mother was in the Air Force for 8 years as part-time as a drill sergeant. So I'm told. I'm sure someone's going to say she wasn't, but I mean that's what I grew up thinking. 3 of my 5 brothers served in the military.
Oh wow.
Almost all of my uncles were in the military. Right.
Goodness.
Most of them retired from the military. Many cousins, more than I can even count. And my daughter is stationed in Japan right now in the Navy. I can't tell you the name of the place. It's not Tokyo or any of the places you've ever heard of, but she sends me a lot of wonderful pictures. So it's a beautiful place. So in light of Veterans Day, and this is a case that we're going to talk about a lot later, but I wanted to bring it up for Veterans Day.
Veterans Day. Yesterday, yes.
Clarence Earl Jenkins is a U.S. Army veteran from Tarboro. Okay. Mr. Jenkins checked himself out of the Britthaven Assisted Living Facility on Western Boulevard on March 12th, 2006. Right? Now, Mr. Jenkins was only 48 years old.
Wow.
Right? But he had some, he had to do daily dialysis, and he had a lot of other health problems, right? So that's why he was living there. But he's only 48. I'm 47, so,
yeah.
You know, I mean, boy, 40 used to be old until I got to be 40, and
yeah,
then it ain't quite
happens.
so old.
That's
all
what
right.
happens.
Exactly. So Mr. Jenkins, he checked himself out that day. It was nothing unusual, right? Done it many times before. I mean, right. It was a place where you could come and go. He was seen walking around Tarboro by several people that day, including a police officer. Nothing unusual or new, you know, about it. But after someone spoke to him at 3 p.m., never seen again. These
things just blow my mind.
Just disappeared into the ether, right? After 3 p.m. on March 12th, 2006. And again, he was a sergeant, highly decorated sergeant in the Army, right? I don't doubt that some of his health problems probably came from his service in the Army, right? So when I was working at the Tarboro Weekly, which is, I don't think is in business anymore, which is kind of scary because I think every newspaper I've ever worked at is out of business now. But
watch out.
I know. Exactly. I spent a lot of time when I was down there in Tarboro going back over where Mr. Jenkins had been, you know, Sergeant Jenkins, I guess we say this one, looking all the places that he went to. I kind of developed a map of that day and traced it around.
So he checked himself out.
He checked himself out, went for a walk. This was March 12th, 2006.
So that was the last time he was seen?
Yeah, nothing about it. They found a couple of his belongings in the woods a few days later.
That's not good.
But I know, but that's it. So I talked to the people in the neighborhoods. I talked to Chief Webb down there. Chief Webb is an outstanding guy, extremely educated for law enforcement. I talked to him about everything. I've been in steady contact with the family, with his sister who lives in Virginia ever since then.
Right.
And what the family wants now is the same thing in the Linda Lawrence case and in the Travis Lynch case. They just want his body. You know, they want to bury. I mean, he deserves a burial. He deserves a burial in Arlington Cemetery.
Yes.
I mean, the guy is a hero, and they just want his body so that he can have a proper burial.
Sure. And
the family can try to move on. Now, the good thing about him is that a DNA profile has been developed, right, and it's been entered into multiple law enforcement databases, right? So I mean, they've covered the ground on that. Chief Webb there is really good with that kind of thing. So if a body turns up somewhere, hopefully they can identify it and they can, you know, get that taken care of.
Right.
If anybody knows anything about that one, you know, about that case, 252-406-6736, right? Up to $15,000, you know.
That's right.
The thing about Mr. Jenkins that's so sad is you know, like I said, his sister Judy lives in Virginia. We've communicated quite regularly on Facebook, all dating. That's how I found her. You know, I think we've said before about some of these long-term missing people. Sometimes it's a total investigation just to find a relative.
Oh,
you know?
Absolutely.
And I tracked her down through Facebook back in 2016 and been talking to her. I mean, we talk probably once a week, you know, about everything. And it's moved beyond just her brother. We just talk about everything now. But the sad thing is that she's in Virginia. He's an adult. She's her older brother. But he disappears down here in Tarboro. And I mean, she spent a lot of time in the very beginning coming down here, trying to find out what's going on, you know. But you get to a point where you can't put your own life on hold, but for so long. You know, I mean, your job starts to suffer, your family life starts to suffer, you know, all these things. And again, this is for an adult sibling that has every right to leave if he wants to. But again,
what is your theory? Do you think? What do you?
This is a really hard one because
I mean, he checked himself out.
He checked himself out.
So
and he walks
had
around.
Something in his mind.
And there was actually
he wanted to leave.
You're right. And well, I mean, he did that a lot, to walk to the store or whatever. I mean, you know, the thing that no one was really even concerned about it until he didn't show up for dialysis the next day.
Oh.
That's what I mean. He had a tube inserted into his body where
he would have to have medical attention.
We're drifting back into the Carl Butler phase too. You know, for folks who are not familiar, when we kicked this show off with a story about Mr. Butler.
Sure did.
And Mr. Butler walked away from a Rocky Mountain neighborhood, never to be seen again. And he had a lot of health problems, and he had a thing in his stomach for medicine.
Yeah.
But, you know, while we were investigating Mr. Butler's case and talking about that case, we came to two possibilities, you know, and one possibility was that some law enforcement thinks he's dead over there in that neighborhood somewhere, and they'll find him eventually. Some folks think that he ran off to Texas or Washington, D.C. or wherever.
Yeah, we heard Maryland.
Right, and to complicate things in Mr. Butler's case, he had a federal arrest warrant out for him when he disappeared. But it was not the kind of arrest warrant that they were going to go looking for. You know, it's a bench warrant. It's if you get caught speeding or whatever, it pops up on the computer. And so I mean, there's these missing persons cases where it's adult and there's no immediate obvious foul play.
Right.
They're really complicated. I did one.
See that.
I did one about a guy in Duplin County a few years ago. That I wrote about it a few years ago, but it's been, you know, it was 20 years ago since he heard a noise and went out in his front yard and he was barefooted. Right? He heard a noise, he goes out in his front yard, he's barefooted. That's it. The family never saw him again.
That is too
he never came back.
Bizarre.
He never came back inside. He just disappeared.
That's just too bizarre.
And there's a lot of them. There are a lot of these strange cases. A gentleman excuse me, a gentleman in Jones County that I wrote about a few years ago, his name was William Moore. He walked out of his house. He had a little bit of dementia, you know, whatever. But he was a young guy. He had some mental problems. He walks out of his house and takes his clothes off and walks in the woods. And they used helicopters, the Coast Guard, dogs, everything you can think of to find this guy. And they knew that he was missing right away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they started looking for him the second that he disappeared.
Right.
And never found him. And today it's been 10 years, and William Moore is still, to this day, no one knows where he's at. So you know, these, I don't know what to make about these. I got so many of these.
Neither.
One that we're gonna start talking about in a couple of weeks after Lyndon Lawrence, right? Is a man that disappeared from Northampton County, and he left his food on the stove, and no one knows where he's at. He's just gone. He's just gone. And his sister and his brother-in-law are very famous Hollywood people that we'll get into. And they've come to Northampton County trying to find out answers. And there's just no answers. This man just walked away from his food cooking on the stove, and they don't know where he is. So I don't know what to make of all these. I mean, I've got stacks of missing persons people from North Carolina that just walked away from their life never to be seen again, and no evidence, no one knows what. But to keep the theme of Veterans Day, Mr. Jenkins served his country.
He did.
I think he had health problems derived from that. You know, because 48 is kind of young to be living in an assisted living facility.
That's true.
So he deserves, all these people deserve to be found.
Absolutely.
But you know, Mr. Jenkins, and like I said, we're going to cover this case a lot more later on, but I just wanted to put it out for Veterans Day. If you live in Tarboro, you know what happened, or if you don't, if you know what happened to Mr. Jenkins, call this number, make some money, and let Judy go to sleep for once in all these, since 2006. She said she hasn't slept a wink since 2006. You know, give this lady some peace.
Right.
That's all I got for
Absolutely. Well, it is time for us to go. Thank you for watching the K-Files today, and we'll be right back with you next Thursday.
Right back with you next Thursday?
Yes.
Well, that don't make any sense. That's a whole week. We be right back.
We're going to be back next Thursday, aren't we?
I'll be here.
Right, I will too. So we will be back next Thursday.
Yeah, back. You said right back. You're so used to saying
right
TV
back. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yes, I know I'm right. Usually that's how it works out.
Right back here next Thursday. Whatever.
Right.
Okay. We'll see you then on the K-Files.
Well, is that it? Are we done?
That's it. We're done.
All right.
If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
In the market for new or used guns, look no further than Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun. Whether you want to buy, sell, or trade, we got you covered. While you're here, check out our large selection of jewelry. We offer gold, silver, diamond, and beautiful estate jewelry. Looking for electronics? We have almost anything you can think of. We always carry new and used guns, so come here first and shop with a local business you can trust. Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun, serving you for over 25 years. 443-1668, 2552 Sunset Avenue, Rocky Mount.